Well, hi, good morning, and thanks so much for joining me in my shop here. I'm just about finished with this radio. Pretty much has to go back in its cabinet, and that's about it, except a little birdie sent me a note saying, hey, you might have had your test equipment running at too high a level when you were doing the alignment, and you may have got a false alignment out of it. I don't know. I don't think so, but I think I want to verify that. It's bothering me. That maybe that has happened. So I'm just going to do a quick check of the alignment on the radio, and if everything seems okay, then it's into the cabinet and we'll get a final look at it. So let's get going here. Now it's another just beautiful day outside. I really don't want to be in here but I do want to get this done. So let's turn on the radio here. Just make sure everything's okay. Got the oscilloscope connected. I'm going to drive the sweep signal into the radio using this other antenna, which I'm just going to kind of clip like that so it's reasonably stable. Okay. I guess I have to turn the radio on to make this whole thing work. Yeah, the weather has been just fantastic, day after day. Fantastic weather. Okay, let's give it the full treatment here. Today's Niagara Falls power is 122.3 volts. Okay, so I'm going to use the sweep across, and we'll look up at the scope here once I get everything going. Let's get the sweep on. Okay, now I've got the antenna. You know, they're pretty close to each other, so it shouldn't take too much signal. There it is. Wow. Taking everything I've got. Okay, now oscilloscope. So the oscilloscope is connected to AVC point like it was last time. Just get that a little bit better here. This might be the problem. Too much light coming in from the next room. Okay. Nothing on the screen. Why is there nothing on the screen? That's a good question here. Oh, maybe partially because I have this on. Nope. Well, it's another fine mess I've gotten myself into. Maybe I picked the wrong spot here. That's a little better. There we go. Okay, I just had the scope connected to the wrong spot. So now you can see the effect of the diode rectification. Everything's going down, nothing going up. I feel like I've lost my mind here this morning. I'm really tempted to stop the video here, but let's just keep it going and I'll sort this out. Is it... put that on AC. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so finally got somewhere. So the sweep generator is sweeping through the AM band. So this is the bottom of the AM band, this is the top of the AM band. This would be somewhere in the middle, just like the radio's tuned right now. Actually, the radio's tuned for, oh my gosh, maybe 700 or so. The thing that's interesting is, as I tune it, what is this guy doing here? There's a couple more things up here too. I'm not too worried about those. So the question is this an alignment peak that should be inside here and it's way out there? It's a way, way, way out. Guess I'm going to tune it to a good spot here. That, and there's another one here, and they're equidistant also. Could it be there's a harmonic coming out of my generator because, or some other frequency coming out of it because I've got it running basically full tilt. Let me just take it back. No, that doesn't seem to be. I was hoping this one would disappear while this one remained, but they don't. They go together. Okay. Well, what could that be that would be that far out? Holy smokes! This has gotten very interesting suddenly. I'm gonna move something here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm going to twiddle the different adjustments a little bit, each one, and see what happens to this. If I can make this move and this not change. Is that even possible? I don't think that's even possible. I don't think I can move this. Oh, maybe I can't. Who knows? Okay, I need a little more light on the topic here. So this is the antenna trimmer first. If I can get my screw in there. There we go. So what I see happening is the big peak, it's very hard to see, is changing size. I don't see any movement in any sort. As I tighten it right down. So it can't be that. Maybe one of the 4 IFs is way out. I have trouble believing that. Here's the next IF. I'm sorry, next. This could be intermediate stage trimmer. It's the same effect. I really messed things up now in terms of the precision, but this is not going away. Okay, let's try the IFs. Wow, if this works. This changes the let's just take them first. We're just picking one of them. Here we go. We got a lot more signal out. Oh, what's happening? How come that's going like that? How did I find more signal in the IF at this point in the whole scheme of things? How did that happen? let's keep going here. Now, I'm not putting a 455 through. This is maybe a dumb thing to do, but let's fiddle. I like fiddling. Let us fiddle. Reach over. Okay. The other IF. So this is absolutely not the way to do this. But I know I can always just revert back to other methods to restore things once I... Here we go. Okay, here we go. Okay, it's not doing anything to this other peak. So I am looking at the shape of this sharp peak, and I can see it swinging a little bit, so I'm pretty sure I've got the alignment back where it was. So I haven't done anything about this. What is this? What is that? And why should I even care? So if this is the whole broadcast band, then it's roughly a megahertz from here to here. So it's roughly 100 kilohertz per division, roughly. So roughly, this is roughly 100 kilohertz away. So it'll be like 640 and 740 distance. I just, you know, that's quite a ways away. Wait a second. I shouldn't do this. What happened there? It's picking up other signals. So what's happened here is a very, very powerful noise signal. I put this on DC. We should be able to see that by watching the ABC effect. Yeah, so see, I'm actually sending a fairly weak signal to the radio, and that's a signal going to the radio. You can see the noise is easily visible. My sweep generator is not very strong, and I'm just using this antenna coupling technique. So here we pick up a noise signal so strong it's AVC'd the sweep right out of the picture. And there you can see it on the other side again. That's just so much noise you can't spot it in there, I think. Definitely some interesting things going on in that display. So you see a line there. See the line is kind of at the bottom now. And I can pick it top, bottom, top. What the heck is all that? I have no idea. Take forever to figure that stuff out. There's another thing coming in here. So now let's think about this for a second. What are we looking at? We're looking at the output, the IF. We're looking at the rectified output of the IF. For this to be here, there has to be a signal in the radio mixing with the mixer, producing a 455 signal to show up here. 455, maybe 456 here. 457 maybe, I don't know. So for this to appear and to travel just like this one, there has to be a second frequency. There has to be. Why don't we look at what's coming out of my sweep generator here? directly. That'd be a good idea. Let's do that. Oh, it's not quite what I expected. Got pretty quiet, didn't I? So this should be a ramping up frequency in here. Be a lower frequency here and a higher frequency there. Making that visible, I can slow the whole thing down. There. So now you see the wave is crunched here and wider over here. It's like an accordion closing over here. So that's the sweep effect. Yeah, I'd have to put the it looks perfectly fine, but how can you be sure? Because this is a highly reliable piece of equipment. This would just be the simplest thing. 5 minutes and I'd have the radio back in its cabinet. Oh, someone at my door. Go ahead. Okay, I spent quite a bit of time here sorting out what my problems are. It's quite simple. I'm not sweeping the whole AM band up here. I'm just sweeping a small part of it right around 900. So the radio is not tuned in the sweep area. The radio's tuned here, and the sweep is up here. This is what you hear. If I tune it into the sweep range, voila, there we are. Everything's normal again. Oh man, what a disturbing deal. Now, let's read some voltages here. 20 volts per division on the scale. 2 divisions. 20 volts. 20 volts of AVC power. Is that really true? Maybe you can't really put it that way. The small change in this line is the actual AVC voltage. Okay, so if I turn this back. So this is the idea that with too high a signal, look at that, right at the end there. So, I mean, that could be my signal generator affecting that. Let's take it down so we can hear some of the noise. I know the level's not too high. Okay, alignment once again. Now it's just really subtle. I just want to make this look. Oh! That's my dryer, clothes dryer calling me. I must go. Okay, I think we're ready to go here. Now, this is really not the way to align a radio. Well, I'm going to do it this way anyway. It's really like looking down a pipe called the IF and seeing what's passing by the end of the pipe at the other end. It's kind of like that. So let's adjust the pipe first. Let's see what we can do with that. Then we'll adjust what's at the far end of the pipe secondly. So we want to start on the second IF, which is this one. I find this tool so hard to set. There we go. Okay. Now watch the shape here for what it does. A little bit bigger. I think we saw a little more DC here too. Okay. Now, very awkward for me to get around here. Okay, here we go. Okay, that will be nice and in the middle. And we're not paying attention to whether it's 455 or not at this point. You know, I could be optimizing a bad alignment. Maybe that's what I'm doing here. I don't think so. The last one. So these are all set nicely, I think. So now we'll take a look at the trimmers. Stay away from the oscillator. I don't see any particular peak from that. So this might be a hard thing to do with a sweep. It's interesting how it knocks this corner down. I don't know if you can see it, but there's some kind of oscillation in there too. If I had to pick a peak, I'd say it's right there. Oh my gosh, what's happened to the camera? Ooh, out of focus. Hope it wasn't like that too long. Sometimes what happens, believe it or not, you put a pattern in front of one of these cameras, and it can't focus. Apparently, it can focus this time. I don't know what happened there. Maybe that was just for a moment. In any case, we have a nicely shaped response curve here. It looks nice on the screen. Once again, let's listen to the radio. Okay, taking off equipment. So, signal first. This little guy here. Tip it down. Okay, my friendly radio. Do your stuff. Now, let's just turn this right down. Nothing can interfere. This is your chance, Mr. Radio. We're almost on the French station right here. So the thing to keep in mind is down here in my shop, no AM radio works well. So, but I know from experience what a radio that will work well out of my shop appears to work here in my shop. This one's working well. The fact I can get this French station fairly clearly. Now, that's either 680 or 740. I'm going to do a little trick here. This clip is connected to my outdoor antenna. Let's see. Boy, that doesn't help, does it? So there's the null direction. So 90 degrees from null give you the maximum.
Vicky, as always, thank you so much for joining us and for bringing some,
Excellent. So this is 680. 680 is the station that has a noise signal right next to it. And I can listen to it fairly clearly now. Let's go for the noise. That's the noise. So a lot of radios, I don't know if it's the radio or my alignment jobs anymore. Can't separate the noise in the station here. This one can.
Radio,
640. Was I wrong about that then? Uh-oh. Well, that's right. That's why it sounded so good. It was 640. .680 is not making an appearance here. I think it's right there. Well, I think that's it. As lousy as it might sound, it's actually working quite well. A little bit of confusion on my part about which station I'm hearing, but they're all in there, it seems. It's good. That's very good. So next, into its cabinet, and we'll have a look-see at what that's all about. Okay, so while I put the radio back in the cabinet, I'm going to chat a little bit about Voice of America. Certainly when I was younger and a kid, Voice of America was a snap to pick up on shortwave radio. Always contained very well done news. Of course, back at that time, all the major news services told the same basic stories because it was the same basic news, wasn't it? So it wasn't surprising to listen to Voice of America and hear essentially the same news you'd hear on ABC, NBC, CBS, or even on Canadian networks if they were to cover similar stories in that. So no surprise in that. They used to have the special English service. I don't know if they still do that, where they used only 1,200 English words to relay the news, which I used to enjoy listening to that actually. Very simple, very straightforward, great news service. The reason I'm talking about it now and not continuing with the work here is Voice of America is very hard to pick up these days. In English, it's extremely hard to get. Not very often you get it. But I did about, it was a while ago now. A couple months ago, I guess. Or maybe even longer. I listened to it for a while. It had the same style of voicing on the broadcaster. And the news came across. I was stunned at how cold, clear, and truthful the news was on Voice of America. I couldn't believe it. And it was hard hitting. It was definitely critical of the American government, things that were going on in that. In a newsworthy way, the same way all the other legitimate news houses would produce it. Now this is kind of interesting if you think about it. Voice of America is a propaganda tool for the American government. Radio Canada International was to some degree a propaganda tool. The Voice of America, the propaganda part, is pretty laid back. I can't say it really leaped out at me at any time, but that's what it is. Yet it produced what I think was completely believable and completely reliable news. So that's kind of interesting. The same thing here in Canada, you know, with the CBC. The news service is isolated away from the government in such a way that the government cannot specify the news. And so I hope, anyway, I'm pretty sure that's the case. And the journalists are pretty much allowed free hand at deciding, within their editorial systems and that, what can go on the air. And the CBC is a government-owned system here in Canada. Highly respected. We love our CBC here in Canada. Voice of America, kind of similar in a way. Why am I talking so much about it? Because I think that's about to change. The Voice of America story I heard was critical of the President of the United States. There's no two ways about it. I think some would say deservedly so. So the top guy at Voice of America is being replaced right now. He's being replaced with a person being appointed by Donald Trump, and so a board member is being considered also for Voice of America, a guy named Gorka. I don't usually get political on my channel here. I try to avoid it. You can almost see what's going to happen. It's the end of Voice of America, an independent, reliable news service, and the beginning of another Trump broadcast system. You know, Donald Trump is hungry to get a broadcast system under his belt. He thought he had Fox. That's fallen through. Now he's after that One American News group. Boy, that really stinks to high heaven, that whole arrangement there. You watch. Voice of America going the same way. So keep your eye on the news. You know, it's a shortwave thing. That's why it's legitimate for me to talk about it here. Hang on to your independent, truthful Voice of America, even though if you're American you've probably never heard a single broadcast from it, yet much of the world listens to it. Used to anyway. Maybe not today. Okay, that stalled me completely. I didn't get anything done here, and so this was the radio that was not bolted in. Two big screws. Now, normally I would have those two big screws laying right here. Okay, I'm going to stop for a bit, screw this guy in, screw him up, screw him in, and get it done. Okay, so got the two screws in. Took a bit of a battle. Hey, look at that. I didn't notice this before. That says Allied Television Service Limited, phone 772, I have no idea where that is, 859 Sargent Avenue, but it doesn't give a city, so Sargent Avenue somewhere, and I'm looking to see if that's a date there. Don't think so. Here, this looks like a work order number here. Anyway, I'm not the first guy to mess around with this radio. So I was talking about Voice of America. How come I got squeaky? And then I'm going to talk just a minute about propaganda on shortwave and my experience with it. So I've been listening to shortwave since I was a kid. Lots of hours listening, short periods of time, but it's added up to many hours of listening to things like BBC, Voice of America, Radio Moscow, and Radio Canada International. Actually, it was quite I enjoyed listening to that. So what does that all amount to? All those years and all that listening, it amounts to this. Never heard any hard propaganda coming from Russia. Never. Never heard any hard propaganda coming from Voice of America. Voice of America would present the news, both domestic and international, and do a good job of it. Radio Moscow, I can't say I really listened to the news much from Radio Moscow, but mostly they had programs on talking about their 5-year plan and how much wheat they were going to grow in the Caucasus and all this kind of stuff. And pretty much talking about themselves and how wonderful they're doing. A lot of discussion on Radio Moscow about involvements in international organizations that in North America I would hear nothing. Or in the Western world, I hate to use that term, but in the Western world I'd hear nothing of them. There's a different set of organizations that the Western world played around in. So I became aware of the two worlds sort of thing going on back then. The one place I heard clear propaganda was on American Forces Radio and Television Service. So the American Forces Radio and Television Service is a service for service people in the American military who are stationed in other places of the world, so they have something American to listen to. So they can turn on their radio and listen to this program that would remind them of life in the United States when they're actually somewhere in Africa or something like that. And so I was listening to this. The service had shortwave components, of course, because of remote locations, and I could imagine American servicemen sitting in the canteen and this stuff playing out of the speakers in the canteen, and a lot of it would be just regular programming, entertainment programming, music and stuff like that, and news. One day everything stopped and out came this announcement. It said something like, "And now an announcement of American government policy," and then it said, "The American government must control the waters of the world." And then it went on a 10-minute discussion around the idea that American military strength, naval strength, must be used to control all the waterways of the world. And so, this was not intended for my ears. What I was listening to was intended for the ears of military people who, of course, are involved in doing and carrying out those kinds of policies. In all the years I've listened to shortwave, that is the primary piece of propaganda that I heard, directed at servicemen, and not for surprising reasons. So, I don't know, does America really need to control the waters of the world? Still trying, right? China's trying to control some water outside of China. America's trying to control it too. I think Iran's trying to control some water just off the shores of their country, and America's there trying to control it too. So I think that's still the policy of the United States, to attempt to control the waters of the world. Oh well, some might say better than somebody else. And I certainly used to feel that way. Let's stop all this talk and turn this radio on for one last listen. Let's see what we got here. So whoever ends up with this radio, this is not my radio, will have a radio that the cabinet is prime for refinishing. Look at this cabinet, it has sharp corners and edges everywhere. Okay, so that makes refinishing it quite easy. You have no curved surfaces to sweat over. It's all one color, there's nothing fancy going on here. So you could easily refinish this radio, and you could take this metal screen off, paint it, it would look beautiful. This even has this brass piece here, which is rugged, right? It's not going to wash off or something. It's going to always be there, so you could polish that up. What's kind of neat, it's got a little Viking ship right there. It's cool. But does it work, Tim? That's the question. Okay, here we go. Full power right away. No chance of seeing the light, I don't think. Oh, there it was. Yeah, there was the light for a moment. I'll turn down the lights in my shop here. Turn them right off. Okay, turn them all right off. Ooh. Oh, lucky me. I was able to find the volume control in the dark. Okay. Here we go.
hopefully somebody will at least make an anonymous tip through Crime Stoppers, because there's still
Uh-oh. So that's 590 on the dial, but that's not 590.
But yeah, people are afraid,
Here's 590 down here. I think it's 590.
Generally speaking, in Canada, the trust of police is quite high, but the numbers are down several points since all of this has happened and since all the protests have been going on. So that could lead to, additional reasons why somebody's not going to pick up the phone and call in a tip.
So I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can. The pointer's right here. 8. So this station is actually 860. So 900 would be in the middle. It's just about exactly right. You see, my camera focus is getting caught up on this screen pattern here. Very good. That be it. That's the end of the Viking. End of the Viking. In fact, you know what? I am Viking. My grandfather told me, Jim, you are not Norseman, you are Viking. Yes, so Viking. Yeah, and my background is Swedish. Purebred Swedish, but born here in Canada, like so many people. Okay, that's great. And the next radio, I've already picked it. A big change is going to come in here. I'm going to be working on a Sony, I think it's a 2010 radio. I'm not sure of the number, but transistorized, small, scary stuff. Thanks a lot for watching this series, and I hope you enjoyed that. And I'll see you in the next video.